Welcome to 5% Radio, where it's all about learning like no one else today so you can live like no one else tomorrow. Please be sure to share and subscribe. What is up, 5%ers, and welcome back to another episode of the 5% Radio podcast. Today is episode number 80, and I'll be talking to you about 20 things I wish I knew about wealth thinking before chasing financial freedom. Now, this episode is not specifically about 20 things that I wish I personally knew about wealth thinking before chasing financial freedom. This actually comes from a talk that I just heard from a guy who was, I'll give you a little bit of his backstory just so I can properly set him up so you can appreciate where this information comes from, because it really is important where your information comes from, because at the end of the day, if you're going to take someone's advice, you need to look at the fruit on the tree. Do they know what they're doing? Do they have the results in the area that I want? And if they don't, then don't go in that direction. That's one of the things that I appreciate about publishing content, about being able to do this show, 5% Radio, and also about being able to publish things on 5% Media on, all the different platforms that I'm on, is I am documenting my journey. I'm sharing the lessons that I'm learning along the way. I'm not coming off as a fake guru or a fake expert or telling you, hey, this is what I know indefinitely. Now, if there's something that I know absolutely positively, yes, I'll share it with you, but I've learned all those things from people that have fruit on the tree. So it's similar to like if I passed you a piece of paper with a note on it that was handed down from someone that wasn't expert in that area, I'm not trying to give you my spin on what they said. So anyway, this gentleman worked for a massive, it was GM. It was a massive, vehicle automotive corporation. And he was offered at 26 years old a plant management position, did his master's degree thesis in Japan. He was offered to go across the pond to be a plant manager, turned that down, ended up actually walking away from the security, quote unquote security, the guaranteed paycheck, the salary, the company cars, all this stuff, corner office, whatever. So he ended up walking away from that, starting his own business. And actually it was an industry that he started his business in that was going massively backwards at the time, and built to, I think it was $200 million plus a year in that industry that was going backwards at the time. Rolled that success into, becoming a successful speaker, phenomenal speaker, probably one of the best speakers I've ever personally heard, like sitting in an audience. Went on to write 10 plus books, has sold over 2 million copies of books worldwide, and is now the CEO of a company that is, I think, $750 million, has a $100+ million net worth himself. Just an absolutely phenomenal human being. I've had the pleasure to meet him personally, shake his hand, actually spend a few minutes with him. He's just a very genuine dude. And then lastly, he is rated in the top 50 leadership experts of all time, dead or alive, by Inc. magazine on a publication they put out years ago. And this doesn't sound like a significant fact, but he's been married to the same woman for over 30 years, which, if you know anything about the world of success, a lot of people that quote unquote make it end up getting the new spouse, new house, all that stuff. He's been with the same gal, stable family life, just wonderful guy. Anyway, he was giving a talk on the top 20 things, technically 21, but really 21's a bonus. The top 20 things that he wished he knew about wealth thinking before getting started in his journey of entrepreneurship. So I'm going to go ahead and read these off and just kind of give my cliff notes on filling in some of the things that he discussed that weren't just the bullet points of what he covered that weekend at that talk. So let's go ahead and dive into this. Okay, so principle number one is that the 1%, the top success people in the world, the people who have achieved the most, that make the most, that do the most, they think differently than I do, than he did at the time, than the rest of the people. So that means that if 1% think differently, that 99% of people do not think like the 1%, which means that there's a good chance that you, the person listening to this, for sure me, do not have exactly the thinking that is required to get to top 1% wealth. Now, I know we call this 5% radio. We're talking about not being the 95%, being the 5%. But if you want 1% thinking, or even more fractional, marginal than that, then it is going to be different than the thinking that you are currently around, the thinking that you currently have, the belief systems that you've always held. You're going to have to change not only what you do, but the way you think about what you do. And to quote one guy, you have to think about what you're thinking about before you're thinking about it. So the top 1% think differently than I do, coming from this guy who gave this talk, top 20 things I wish I knew about wealth thinking before pursuing financial freedom. Number two is that the rules of success have no feelings for me. Success requires what it requires, and it does not play favorites. Now, a lot of people get this confused. They think that insert name here, oh, that guy was lucky, he was this, she was that, they had this, they were this gender, they were this skin color, they were born at this time, they just flat out did the work. If a person does more work than you, more consistently, over time, while growing, while addressing challenges, while facing giants, so to speak, and they continually push and push and push and push and push, and they roll with the punches, as my grandfather used to say, if they continually do whatever it takes and they make it, you cannot call that person lucky. This drives me crazy, and I've heard a lot of highly successful people talk about this. You've got to have a responsibility mindset in the things that you do, and you can't be assigning luck to someone else's results when they put in work that you didn't. I know it comes off harsh, but the rules of success have no feelings for me. They don't play favorites. It's not that this guy got lucky and well, we're going to give it to him. Like people talk about, well, the universe, this and that. Like, no, there's universal laws. And if you operate with them, then you can succeed. If you operate against them, regardless of what you believe, don't believe, how positive you think, like it doesn't matter. If you don't give success what it requires, it's not going to work out. And I heard a guy actually talk about this recently, and he sounded a little bit cold when he was talking about it, but he gave this analogy. He said, if I'm a business owner, and he said, let's say that my mother gets cancer or I get a horrible health diagnosis, and he listed all these awful things. He said, none of that can matter. Like, if I don't give my business what it requires, if I don't give success what it requires, I'm going to go backwards. Like, things don't ever remain the same. They're either moving forward or going backwards, and that is it. So he really gave this analogy and helped kind of paint this picture that it requires what it requires regardless of what's going on. It does not matter what you're personally going through. And I'm not saying that to be rude, but success is success is success. And you have to do what success requires. Number 3, the power of association to the positive or the negative. Now, this is funny because I'm a parent and I have 2 awesome kiddos. And as they get older, we will be more and more selective about who they are around, the content they consume, the things they hear, what they read, what they watch. We're already very, very, very picky about that. And we're already starting to get pickier about who they're around. There are certain people that I would not bring around my kids, that if I was going to their house, my kids are staying at home. That if they were to come over to my house, we're going to lay down some ground rules immediately. Not because I don't love them, not because they're not a wonderful person, but when it comes to association, if you understand it as your kid, if you have a 5-year-old and you have an 8-year-old down the road who smokes cigarettes, if you smoke, whatever, but if you have an 8-year-old smoking cigarettes, your 5-year-old, you're probably not going to be like, yeah, going out with little Johnny down the street, he's skipping school, smoking cigarettes. That's who I want my kids around. It's the same thing as an adult. People don't get this. They'll consume junk content. They watch a ton of crap media. They read garbage. There's certain things that I can't say because I don't mark my episodes explicit, but there's a lot of genres out there that you just flat out should not be reading. Do whatever you want. But if you put garbage in, you get garbage out. If you read garbage, you're going to have garbage results. If you focus on crappy things, drama, the news, all this other media, if you focus on dramatic people, if you hang out with people that don't want to go anywhere in their lives, that just want to go backwards, that want to talk about the past, that want to talk about someone else's drama, their dirty laundry, you will become what you hang around. Okay, Jim Rohn said that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time around, their income, their relationships, their health, their energy, their positivity, everything, okay? So be careful who you get around. Number 4, the concept of investing versus spending. So money is not to buy what you want. This is one of the things specifically that he said. Money is not to buy what you want. The concept of investment versus spending, and it's funny because you'll talk to someone about investing in themselves, whether it's it might be a coaching program, might be, a certain library that they need to get access to so they can learn things like course material, might be reading, it might be events, seminars. Like I go away to events here and there, weekends, and people are like, oh, that's crazy. It's so much money. It's this and that. I don't know how many hundreds of books in my library. And I had someone come in one time and he's like, man, think about how much money you've spent on books. And like at this point, we were in a financial position that was unbelievable compared to anything else that we'd ever been in. I think almost a year and a half savings in the bank. And I looked at those books and I'm like, that produced a large amount of what we have, dude. Like it's not like, oh, well, you have money left over from buying books. Like, no, that taught me how to get to where I was at that point. Like the books are an investment in me. So people will look at things like reading a book, going to a conference, going to a seminar, getting access to a course, paying for mentorship, or traveling to go meet someone that they can get around who's significantly more successful. And they'll be like, oh, that sounds expensive. But the same person is on Hulu. They have Netflix. They pay for premium versions of YouTube. They spend all this different junk money. You ask them to go out to eat and they'll drop $50 on a meal and tip super generously and get an appetizer and not bring their leftovers home and throw it away. And they'll buy a car that has a crazy high payment because it's what they like. And well, I deserve it and this and that. And they'll go shopping spontaneously and they'll finance Starbucks. They'll do all this junk. But then they look at actually investing, getting a return, having a return, an expectation of return on something you're buying to invest into yourself. And they'll be like, oh, that sounds expensive. So money is not to buy what you want. It is to grow you, to grow a nest egg, to grow security. It is to further your future. I sat down with someone today and I was introducing some concepts to him, and I was thinking, man, I'm probably doing some old man 30, 40 years down the road the biggest favor that I possibly could do by sharing this with him. By giving him this information, I'm doing an old man a favor 30 or 40 years down the road. Are you doing the old version of you a favor? Because, I mean, if God blesses you at the time, you will be old someday. Are you doing yourself any favors, or are you wasting your money right now? Are you spending it when you could be investing it? Thing number 5 that he wished he knew: the idea of investing in yourself for your whole life. Now, this might sound like it's kind of one of the same, but this is kind of a further concept of number 4, but investing in yourself your whole life. I forget who said this, but they said basically that you should invest 10% of whatever comes in into yourself. And I've heard guys that were making, millions of dollars a month said that they tried to do this continually to the point where they were not able to. They would pay for different conferences. They would pay to get around coaching. They would pay for mentorship in rooms with people that were, literally the number 1, number 2, number 3 best guys in the world, best gals in the world at what they were doing. They would do whatever they could to constantly try to invest, to set them out 10% into themselves. This might be books, courses, mentorship, whatever that is. It might be your health, but you should constantly invest in yourself for your entire life. It's not just for a college degree. This is one of my biggest beefs with college. And yes, I think college is a scam. I'm very open about that. I've always felt that way. I don't believe in it. I dropped out multiple times. My wife went. She agreed she would not go back if she had the choice. But if you look at college, college gives people this idea of a finish line of their education, whether it's a, tier degree, so associates, bachelor's, master's, PhD, like you name it. It gives people this idea that, okay, I have arrived. I get to the certain spot and then my education is complete. Your education starts when you begin learning how to learn. Like the only thing that I took away from college is that I learned how to study. That is the only thing that I took away from it. I had fun playing piano there. I really enjoyed the gym aspect, the pool. Like that was awesome. Whatever they call it, the convocation center where you can go eat. Yeah, you can tell I spent a ton of time there. But I enjoyed a few things about college, but the number one thing that I took away was how to study. That was the only thing that I learned out of the classes that I took and dropped out of. And, people going to business classes and getting degrees from people in entrepreneurship that never even owned a business. Like there's a lot of broken things in the system, but the idea that you're going to invest into yourself short term to go get a job, not even guaranteed. 70+% of people do not even get jobs in their field of study, which is crazy that they can get away with that. That would be like a business saying, hey, look, come spend $120,000 on our educational program, and there's only a 30% chance that you're going to actually be able to apply what we're teaching you in the world out there. But please, $120, $180, $200,000, like it's insane. But it gives this idea of a finish line mentally that, okay, I did this thing, I got the degree, my education's complete. No, your education is just beginning when you learn how to learn. So becoming a lifelong learner, investing in yourself, not short time, not part time, not for a season, but for life, is a massive nugget that I got out of this talk. Number 6 is the importance of being, and again, these are all going in order, the importance, of being a self-directed learner. Now, a self-directed learner is someone who is what it sounds like. They're an autodidact, meaning self-didact. They're teaching themselves over a lifetime. Now, what this looks like, if you're wondering, okay, how do I actually do this? This looks like a person who chooses to say, okay, I have a weakness. Who can I get around? What can I read? What can I listen to? Where can I go to get better in this area? And then I'm going to work on conquering this area right now. I'm not going to, I had a conversation with a buddy today. Shout out to Josh Coffey if he's listening to this, but I had a conversation with him about the personal development world. A lot of people get overwhelmed by the idea that they're going to read a certain amount of books or they're going to attend all these conferences. They're going to do this, they're going to do that, and they never apply anything. That would be like myself. I love the gym. That'd be like having the best supplements money can buy. I have all organic food at the house. I have all these fitness clothes. I have my Gymshark. I have all this different stuff. I have all these amazing supplements, and I do all these different things. And then what I decide to do is I read articles, I watch videos, I listen to podcasts, I hire a personal trainer. They make me the best program they could possibly make me for my body type, height, age, weight, all this stuff. And then I go pay someone else to get the same thing. And then I order more supplements and I buy more clothes and I buy more courses, but I never actually go do the work. People get obsessed with the idea of learning because it feels good to learn new things. It makes you feel alive. And I agree with that. But there were times that I read books just to read books. And now I'm at the point where I had a call with a mentor the other day and he told me to go read a book that I've read several times that I'll be honest, I don't love the book. couple stupid reasons, but I don't love the font. I don't love the page color. I don't love the author's writing style. Really good information, but it's just not my favorite book. And I've read it multiple times. I'm like, okay, I will put down the things that I'm interested in reading. I'm reading some things in areas of weakness, but I'll put down what I'm interested in reading to read where I need to deep dive, to read where I need to work on my weakness specifically. I need to work on this one area. And he's like, if you'll improve this even by 20% in the next quarter, like you will do some massive things financially in your primary field of, business. And I'm like, okay, like that's worth it to me. But you have to be a lifelong self-directed learner, meaning where do I need to grow? Honest about your weaknesses, and then laser focus on that area until you can grow there. It's not just something that you do for 10 minutes or 20 minutes. Like, this is something you put intentional time into. Number 7, earning compound interest through investments versus paying it through debt. Now, this one's very simple on its face, but a lot of people will finance things that are expenses and they will not do things that should be investments. So they'll finance things that they should not finance. Like I heard a guy say, if you're financing your recreation, it's not time to recreate. But they'll expense things that they should not expense, that they should keep out of their budget because they're not really ready for it. And then they will choose not to invest in things. So they're essentially stepping over dollars to get pennies. And so you can have compound interest, a positive snowball rolling down a hill working for you, or you can have compound interest in the negative working against you to where you go to bed every single night and you are more indebted. You wake up literally poorer than you went to bed. So are you investing or are you spending? And it's always going to be a positive or a negative compound interest, but it will be compounding. It will be a snowball rolling down a hill, and you cannot get time back. So if I choose to spend when I should be investing, Warren Buffett gave the idea of if he could buy a pizza and he could pay $11 for it or $7, whatever the analogy. I remember it was $11 for the high number, but if he could save a few bucks on a pizza when he's a teenager, what that would compound into when he was 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old, invested over time. And it was a ridiculous analogy, and people think, oh, well, that's being an extremist. Well, yes, but he never owned a company that he started. Like, he literally just bought other companies, bought stock, shares and stocks and all this other stuff. And he became one of the richest men, like, in history. He was one of the richest men alive in his time. And he never actually started his own business. Like, he literally just bought other businesses, bought stocks, bought shares, all this different stuff. And he bought his first stock when he was like 8 or 11 years old. And he understood the snowball effect, that everything has a time component to it. And it's either momentum for you or momentum against you. Number 8 is how momentum over time matters in building a sustainable business. Now, I think a lot of people underestimate, I had another conversation with a buddy in the gym today. A lot of people underestimate the value and the power of time. So if you're compounding a positive or a negative thing, similar to number 7 with earning compound interest or losing money through compounding debt, a lot of people will look at it and say, okay, how did that person get there? They continued to do the thing when they didn't feel like doing the thing for a longer time than they felt like doing it, just period. Like, you can be in the same field as a person the same amount of time, have read the same books, all this different stuff, and you did that inconsistently over 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 years. And there's another person that came in 2 or 3 years just absolutely smoked you. When I was talking to a friend today, he mentioned something about, we were in the gym, and he just mentioned something about some of the numbers that I was putting up. And he lifts very regularly, but he's done different disciplines, and like his main thing, he's significantly more successful. And I mean, like, to a magnitude of 20 to 50 times as far as like what he makes, just makes crazy money. And we were talking about, like, basically just the importance of consistency. Like, it really is everything. So number 8 is how momentum over time matters in building a sustainable business. You can't be in one week and out the next and doing it today and not doing it tomorrow. Imagine if you opened a business and you had an open sign on the door, and then the next day it was closed, the next day it was open, the next day it was open, the next day it was open, the next day it was closed half the day, and then you opened it at half the day. Like, people have to know that you are there, that you are going to be consistent, that you are going to show up. They will not give you their business if you are inconsistent, regardless of what you sell, what you do, who you're with, does not matter. If they see that you're half in and half out, you will lose a lot of business just because you're not serious. You're not sold out to what you're doing. You're not building that momentum over time that's going to run out in front of you like a positive bow wave off a boat to help carry you through into the next season. Number 9 is that attitude management affects everything. Attitude management affects everything. It affects your finances. It affects your business, your marriage, your parenting, your health, your sleep, literally every single thing. Chuck Swindoll, also known as Charles Swindoll, one of the things he said was, the longer I live, the more I'm convinced that life is 90% what happens to you and 10% how you respond. So you can change certain things in your life, but the fastest way to change anything, any circumstance in your life, is to change your outlook, to change your perspective. If I gave you a pair of glasses and you had horrible vision, and I give you a pair of glasses and then I take them off, the fastest thing I can do, see, I can give you all these different cues. If you're driving a vehicle, I can be like, well, turn here and don't turn so sharp and use the brakes. And then if I'm like, oh, they have a vision problem. Or you know what I could do? I could literally just give them glasses when they need them so I can change their vision, change what they're looking at, change their perspective. It is the fastest thing you can do. And it's one of the fastest things you can do to derail yourself. A lot of people do not control their attitude. They're good in 9 areas. In the 10th area, they just absolutely go off and just explode emotionally. You've got to have attitude management. You've got to have control over yourself. The difference between kids and adults is kids are not expected to control their emotions from a young age. Adults should be capable of it. And with all the stuff we see on social media nowadays, it's unbelievable that no one cracks down on this generation harder about, hey, look, this is your responsibility. Control your attitude. It is your responsibility. It's not someone else's. They didn't make you mad. They didn't make you this. They didn't make you that. You choose your attitude if you want to choose to be successful. Number 10, the true cost of quitting or pausing. A lot of people don't understand this, but when you go into the immersion stage and you're deep diving a new topic, and then you go out of it and you quit something, and then you deep dive another topic, and then you go out of that and you quit it and you deep dive, like you cannot get that time back. Just like the penny day, doubling, all that stuff. Like you absolutely cannot get time back when it comes to missed opportunity. When it comes to all the different things that you decided, well, I'm going to start over. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Like you can never get that time back. The person who goes to the gym 4 or 5 days a week for 20 years will always beat the person who goes to the gym super intensely for 1 year. Always. As long as their diet and everything else, like consistency is everything. And if you're quitting or pausing and starting and stopping, like you're never going to get to where you want to go ever. I don't mean to be negative, but I want to be real. You will never get to where you want to go being inconsistent. I don't care how good you are when you're consistent. All of your work will be erased. It will be evaporated. It will be gone when you become inconsistent, when you quit doing the things that were moving you forward. Thing number 11 is focus. And I think this sounds overly simplified, but I drastically underestimated the power of focus until I realized the power of distraction. Look at a distracted person. What do they get accomplished in life? I mean, literally almost nothing. It's the same thing as like this disease of busyness. A lot of people wear busyness on their sleeve, like it's this, honorable, like, oh man, yeah, look at my sweet title, I'm busy. Like that doesn't mean anything. Like at one point, I think people thought that busy, was equal or equivalent with, oh, they must be super successful. But a lot of people who are super busy are super distracted because they're just like a giant flashlight. They're going in all directions. They're never really super focused on any one thing. And if you look at focus, and when I say focus, I don't mean for a day or for a week or for a month. I mean, you have to be focused for a day to be focused for a week because it's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. You have to be focused for a week to be focused for a month, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You have to be focused for a month to be focused for a quarter, 1, 2, 3. Like, but if you look at a lifetime of focus, and I mean absolute maniacal, I have one goal, I have one major objective. The people that have done the most with their lives in any aspect, business, family, marriage, like ministry, it does not matter. The people who have done the most with their lives, health, they were all maniacally focused. They were completely out of balance. They had one thing and one thing only that they were about. Now, they might have had little side quests and things they enjoyed. They had hobbies. They had stress relievers. But when you truly get focused, like it is amazing what you can accomplish in any area. And my first example of this personally was when I became self-employed and I would wake up at 6:15 and I would work until about 10:30 every day. And I got more done in those 4 hours of work than I ever did working 8 hours for anyone else because I was able to prioritize, put my head down, shut my phone off, not answer any chats, not get on social media, and just work like crazy, super focused for 4 hours. And like the amount of things that I was able to get done was just absolutely mind blowing. So if you're not focused, I mean, truly focused, you might have to wake up earlier. You might have to go to bed later. You might have to put your phone down. You might have to get off social media. You might have to do a lot of different things. But the price of being distracted, it's higher than I can even explain to you. And if you will focus on focus, not trying to be cliche, but if you will really hone in and say, okay, how can I focus? Meaning, how can I eliminate distracting relationships, distracting media, distracting whatever noise? I don't know what that is, but if you can cut out the distractions, your ability to focus will go way up. And if you'll focus short term, roll that into midterm, long term, then you can really create something honestly more quickly than I think you can even imagine because you've probably never been maniacally focused. And if you have, you can attest to this that, okay, this absolutely does work. Thing number 12, Out of the 20 things that he wished he knew about wealth thinking before becoming financially free, before chasing financial freedom, was the power of a mentor for free perspective. Now, there's a lot of people in my life that I can call. I have my father, I have my friend Jonathan, I have a lot of other mentors in my life that I'm able to call in different areas. And there are people that, maybe for one example, they might not have fruit in all areas. Like for example, I have people that could call me for advice on, strength training. And I can give them that advice. If they're looking to get down to 3% body fat, I've never been there. I can give them principles that have been proven to be true, but I don't have fruit on the tree. Like I'm lean, but I'm not 3%. If I am talking to someone about how to become a multimillionaire, I can give you principles and a path. I can tell you what not to do, but I can't actually say, "Hey, look, here's my bank account. I already have a seven-figure net worth. Here you go. Here's how I did it." No, no, no. It's less of here's how I did it, and here's what I've heard. Here's who you should talk to. If there's not fruit on the tree, if you have a person giving you advice in some area, the first thing you need to ask yourself, outside of what is their source, is what is their result in this area? If they're giving you advice, I've had people try to give me financial advice that were, I mean, literally in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt on dumb stuff. Not even good stuff. Not even, rental properties or their personal house, just on like cars, vacations, just wasteful stuff. And they're trying to tell me oh, dude, you should invest in this and that. And I'm like, what are you talking? Like, I've got guys that I can call that are worth tens of millions or, 100 million plus dollars that I can ask for advice, that I can shoot a text to, that I can say, hey, I'm thinking about this. Here's why I'm thinking it. What would you do in this situation? I can do that. It's free. If you have a mentor, and if you don't have a mentor, get the right person. But it is free advice, not a coach, not someone you're paying in a Facebook group. Yes, that's great. But what I'm talking about, a true mentor, they are there to mentor you, not just in business, but as a person. The power of mentorship for free perspective. And this guy was mentored by just a phenomenal individual. They're both still together, doing business, all this different stuff, but absolutely changed his life because it's free. You don't have to take the advice, but it is free perspective. Number 13, how character goes before you and heads off future problems at the pass. And I'll be short on this one, but the speaker gave a story of a gentleman who was in a business transaction with another guy. And he said, I'm worried about this and I'm worried about that because things really could have gone south. Things did not look good. And he said, you know what? I've decided that I'm not going to worry anymore because I know that, individual A, we'll call him, would never screw me. Like, in other words, I know that I'm never going to have to worry about this person doing something that's a win-lose, taking money out of my pocket, so to speak, doing something good for them and bad for me, because I know they're honest. So I'm just not going to worry about it anymore. I know it's going to sort out. And that was the end of it. He quit worrying. He quit having anxiety because that person A's character was so high that he knew, I know this guy's always going to do the right thing no matter what it cost him. So that means that I can sleep easy at night. I can rest. I don't have to worry about what's going to happen. So if you have good character, people can say things behind your back. Reputation's who people say you are. Character is who you truly are. People can say whatever they want about you. But if you are truly doing the right thing, not what you believe is right, but like principally the right thing, you've sought counsel. The Bible says there is safety in a multitude of counselors. You've sought counsel. You've prayed on this. You've really, really, really thought it through. If your beliefs are not the same as my beliefs, that's okay. But I'm just telling you what I personally do. I seek counsel on things. I pray through things. I write down pros and cons of things. I take my time making a decision, and then I'm not going to flip flop and change my mind. When I've made the decision, I've thought through everything. I made the decision very intentionally. But you can get a lot for you in life out of the fact that you have good character. You might lose short term, but you will win long term. Number 14, how important it is to have a network of connections to build relationships in life that are win-win and value first. And the gentleman gave an example of just overall, he has conversations everywhere he goes. And he gave an example of, he's a member of this car club. It's a really high dollar car club, very prestigious. There's like $40 million of cars on the floor. And, they store people's cars and all this different stuff outside of, just the car club. But he said he was there just out in the event, just hanging out. And he's like, I did like 6 business transactions. I connected these 2 guys. I might have got this guy connected with someone that he was looking to hire. I sold a watch to this guy. I bought a car from like all these different things, like plug someone into a, real estate transaction, maybe. Like it was all these different positive things just out in the event because he was the common denominator. He had a huge network. He had a lot of positive win-win value-packed relationships with people who trusted him, who knew he had good character, and that understood, hey, if a referral comes from this guy, it means a lot. If advice comes from this guy, and then he went to another guy who's kind of like his mentor, so to speak, in the car thing. I'll get into this in a second, but he collects cars as an investment, and this guy was able to give him advice because he's built a network. Number 15, be willing to do everything yourself until you can get to the point where you can get to do whatever only you can do. Do not be above anything. This is a huge lesson in business. A lot of people look at things like whether it's cold calling or, I mean, there's a lot of different things you can name, but people will get to the point where they will do so much and then they're like, well, that's below me. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not driving that far. I'm not doing this. I'm not calling them. I'm not apologizing for that. I'm not going to do this part of like, I'm below this. I already make this much. Like, you got to be willing to do whatever it takes, not whatever's convenient, not whatever you want to, not whatever people say you're worth, like whatever it takes, period. There's nothing below you. It's your business. It's your future. It's your family's legacy. It's your financial freedom on the line. You will do whatever's required as long as it's required, no matter what's required, if you truly want it. Be willing to do everything yourself until you can get to the point where you can do what only you can do. And the goal in life, in success, is to be able to get to a place where you can hire people or to where you can build a team of people to where they can take care of things that you don't want to do. Because I was reading a book by Jack Canfield. It's called The Success Principles, and he was the co-author of Chicken Noodle Soup for the Soul. Dude's literally sold 500 million plus copies of books. Incredible speaker, incredible writer. Highly recommend his stuff. I don't agree with everything he teaches because he gets into a little bit of woo-woo, universal, just kind of some weird stuff. But at the end of the day, the Success Principles, this specific book is phenomenal. And one of the things he talks about in there is there's an area of your life that you hate. There's a task that you hate. There's a chore, whatever area of your business that you hate, and someone else loves it. Someone else geeks out. They can't wait they wake up thinking about it every day, and you hate it. So get to the place where you can do what only you could do, and you can hire out the rest. Not to someone who hates it and they hate their job and you're a horrible boss. Like, be a good person, but they can get to a place where, hey, look, I'm going to do what I can do, and you do this thing that you love, and I'll pay you for it. And that's a win-win relationship. So get to the place, be willing to do whatever it takes. Nothing is beneath you, but eventually your goal is to do what only you can do. Number 16, accumulate assets that appreciate or cash flow over time. Again, 20 things I wish I knew about wealth thinking before pursuing financial freedom, before chasing financial freedom. Number 16, accumulate assets that appreciate and cash flow, depending on how you look at it, over time. And these would be things that actually will pay you. Now, the difference between an asset and liability, Robert Kiyosaki taught this years ago. The difference is a lot of people say, oh, your house is an asset. Does your house produce cash flow? It appreciates. Does it produce cash flow? Because per his definition, it was a cash flowing asset. Well, I bought a super nice car. Okay, can you resell that for a higher value? Or is there cash flow there? If so, it's an asset. Okay? If it's just a house, if you're not renting the house, it's not an asset. Now, there's a lot of real estate people that would disagree with me. I'm telling you from the teaching that I've had from guys that are worth tens and hundreds of millions of dollars that are debt-free, that didn't get there through borrowing a bunch of other people's money. If you want to go listen to some real estate guy, be my guest. I'm not against that. This is just what I've been taught. And for the masses, this is the safest thing. So you're not going to lose your butt by going bankrupt in a house that you leveraged with someone else's money. I have friends that have had great experiences in it. My dad has gotten into real estate. He's had great experiences in it. He's done very well. I can't wait to get into real estate and play big there. But at the end of the day, leveraging other people's money can be risky, even if it's sold as a super low risk thing on these courses and all this different stuff. But accumulate assets over time that appreciate value and or that produce cash flow. Because when inflation goes up and you have rental properties and now they rent for more and their value is more, and if you have them paid off, best case scenario, guess what? You're making more money. If you collect cars and you have cars that you've done the research on, the market, you can resell those puppies at any time, as long as you keep the mileage under a certain whatever and you keep them in good condition and the inflation goes through the roof. Guess what? You did not get broker. You didn't get poor. You made more money. Okay. So the assets accumulated over time that appreciate in value and cash flow. Number 17, the investment hierarchy. 20 things I wish I knew about wealth thinking before pursuing financial freedom. Now, this one's very unique because this actually comes out of a book that was written by two financial authors. I'm not going to go into the book, but it is a great book, and I'll talk about that on a later episode. But here's what they said. The investment hierarchy is 7 different things that they recommend for you to go from the most secure to the least secure. So most secure financially, lowest amount of risk, the smartest thing you can do, all the way to the least secure, meaning, I wouldn't recommend it unless you have all these other previous layers built. So picture this as a pyramid. When I say number one, that's the base. Number two is a little bit further up. And then the top one, number seven, is the very tip of the pyramid. Only do this if everything else is in line and your financial life is very, very, very secure. Number one, yourself. We already went over this, but invest in yourself. Number two is establish an emergency fund with 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Now, if you have a high cost of living, if you have a luxurious lifestyle, obviously that may be way different from someone else who lives on 3, 4, 5, 6 grand a month. I've got friends in California that my living expenses for what I would need would literally not even cover like 2 months for them because they can barely live on like less than 10 grand a month. Number three, survival preparation. Not anything crazy zombie apocalypse, but just like have some stuff just in case stuff hits the fan. Number four, savings, both long-term and targeted. Long-term savings mean I'm constantly putting away a set percentage, usually 10%, and then targeted, meaning I'm saving for a car, a house, a vacation. I always have targeted savings, so I'm not pulling from my long-term savings. I'm not pulling from my nest egg to go pay for something else. I have targeted savings, and there's different ways you can set this up. I'll go into more of that, but there's actually apps you can download and different things you can do with banking that will automate certain amounts of savings. And I have savings that goes out weekly that I actually just set up today because I've been looking for something. I finally found a platform that does it. But so there's a lot of different things you can do here, but always have savings going both long-term and targeted. Invest in yourself, pay yourself first, 10%, and then always have targeted savings for the car, the vehicle, the house, whatever you're doing next that's a goal that's lighting you up. Have money that you're setting aside every month for that on purpose, intentionally, that you're tracking. Number five. So again, we're ascending number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is getting a little more risky, but you have the other 4 before you start doing this. CDs, money market accounts, and bonds. So these aren't things that you do first. You first invest in yourself. 10%. Invest back into your education. Number 2, emergency funds. 3 to 6 months of living expenses. And these are real living expenses, like not like your bare minimum, okay? Number 4, savings, both long-term and targeted. Number 5, CDs, money market accounts, and bonds. Number 6 would be stocks and real estate. And when they're talking about investing, they're not talking like I'm buying stocks here, I'm buying stocks there. They're talking about like putting a lot of money in. But they're saying get all these things done before you really start playing big there. If you're making, 20 grand a month, 50 grand a month, 90 grand a month, 100 grand a month, 5 grand, it doesn't really matter. If you're making 5 grand a month, like have all these different things secure. Like you need to make sure that if something does not go well for an investment, if a real estate transaction goes poorly, if the market goes down, like if things out of your control happen, that you're still secure because you've got these previous layers built. And then lastly, number 7, speculative ventures, startups, inventions. I'm not even going to go into that, but like that should be the very last thing that you go into. Unless obviously your specialty is joint venture and you've spent 30 years in the industry or whatever else, like that's okay. But if it's not your specialty, it should be the last thing that you do. Okay, number 18, wrapping up here. Dreams can be investments, cars, houses, and he went into this analogy of you make your money not when you sell, but when you buy. So there was a house that he wanted to buy, and he bought sight unseen. Like he had seen pictures, that was it, hadn't actually been there, couldn't even get a showing. So that told him he wanted this house. It was one of the houses he was looking at, but he literally could not even get a showing because it was so booked. There were so many people that wanted this house. And he's like, man, that means if I buy this house, I like the house. It's not like a 10 out of 10. I would, it got everything I want, but it's got, like 9 out of 10. But that tells me that if I buy this house, my ability to resell this house in the future is very high, and it's going to be very easy to do because I can't even get a showing. I can't walk through the house. It's that high demand. So he bought the house sight unseen. He told the realtor, he's like, can I come see it if I buy it? He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm your buyer. I will buy the house right now. Like the sticker price, I will buy it right now. I will buy it. Like, can you show me the house? I'm buying it. So he understood that, okay, you have to make your money, not just when you sell something, think about it when you buy it. Okay. If a house is built in an area that's just not desirable and you're like, man, we got a great deal, there might be a reason that you got a great deal. If you buy a car that's a ridiculously good deal and it's supposed to be a super nice car, there may be a reason that you're getting a great deal in that car. But he collects cars, he does all this different stuff, but he collects memorabilia and cars, and he does all this because he could resell any of it. He understands the market, watches all this stuff, but you've got to understand that whatever you want, houses, cars, watches, jewelry, whatever that is, collecting memorabilia, sports stuff, like if that's your hobby, great, those can become investments. But you have to have the money, you have to have all these different things set up, so it's not a huge risk. So you're not, well, I'm going to go out and buy a $90,000 watch because it's an investment. Like, do you have the money? Have you done the investment hierarchy of the first one, two, three, four, five, six? Have you done all those things? If you have, man, then great. But the next thing he talks about, number 19, strategic buying. And this was the same exact thing. Basically, assets go up in value when inflation goes up, and they go down in value when money goes down. So if you look at a market, if you can time things, man, you can get a great deal. You might be able to buy $1 million house for $600,000 in a bad market. Still the same house. That's awesome. Do it. Cars, same thing. Like, my wife and I have talked several times. I'm waiting to buy a house. I'm waiting to buy a house, regardless of what we have cash flow coming in, regardless of how soon we have it, regardless of how much we make in the next 18 months, 2 years, 3 years. Like, I'm waiting until the market goes down a little bit so I can buy a house and pay it off in 3 to 5 years. I don't want to buy a house and put it on this long pay plan and pay $800,000 for a $300,000 house or $400,000 for $150,000. Like, I don't want to do it. Are there people that do that? And yes, they're fine, whatever. That's not something that I want to do. I've got friends that are mortgaged to the hilt because they bought a house too early when they could have waited for the market to drop a little bit and got a nicer house for the same money. Number 20 is that everything snowballs. Everything has a compounding effect in every area of your life all the time, 24/7, 365. It never takes a day off. And number 21, as the bonus for what he said, ultimate wealth is in your eternity. There is something that's going to happen at the end of your life. And I would challenge you. I would say, why do you believe what you believe? Can you define that? It's been said that if you can't define why you believe what you believe, you may just be reciting or regurgitating or repeating someone else's beliefs. So ultimate wealth is not in the things that we do down here. It's not in the money. It's not in the houses, not in the cars, not in the accolades, the titles, the best-selling books, whatever else. Ultimate wealth is in your eternity, because there is more than just our 70, 80, 90, 100 years down here. So guys, I hope that was helpful. As always, if you have not followed us on all 5% Media platforms, you can click links in the description if you want to see all that. If you've not done that, and if you like any of our episodes, if you like this episode, if this was helpful, if you like the content, if this was impactful, if you feel like, man, this could help someone else, then share the show. I'm not asking you to share every single episode. I'm not asking you, hey, you got to get like it. But if you found any episode helpful that you've listened to up to this point, if this was helpful, share this with someone else, and I will see you guys next time.